folks. We got a special treat today. We are here with a good friend and family member, Samur Khouja. You may have seen Samur at our booth at numerous trade shows over the years, but not so much anymore because he's too busy being a famous producer and engineer and studio owner. But we're at a special undisclosed location today that we'll get to. You've been set up here for about...
Since November.
Since November?
4 months or so.
4 months.
Yeah.
And how many albums have you made?
4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about where we are, because this is a iconic place.
We're in Topanga, California, on the top of a very tall mountain hill. And this was Neil Young's home and recording studio in the 60s and early 70s. Most of the studio was downstairs, but we've moved to studio up here now to do these records. And there's bedrooms and there's places to stay, but he wrote and recorded after the gold rush. And I think he did everything but the vocals, and I think he did the vocals at Sound City.
I was reading yesterday, I read different conflicting things.
Yeah.
I know they cut 2 tracks at Sunset Sound before they set up here.
Okay.
And then the rest of it was recorded here, and then I did see that they did some stuff at Sound City.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard to track it down, but people still obsess about this house and the history it has. Every once in a while, I'll see people outside with cameras, and they're taking photos.
That's so cool.
They'll have like a Neil Young book in their hand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so crazy. I guess about a year or so ago, I was seeing some emails that this place was available, that had come on the market.
Yeah.
So I guess who you're renting it from now is who ended up buying it.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's just like this really smart woman. She owns tons of properties here in Topanga, so I was surprised that it even went onto market. She probably snatched it up pretty quick, but she's great.
Well, for those of you who don't know about Topanga Canyon, if you've heard about Laurel Canyon and the famous music scene here, there was a similar scene happening out here in Topanga, kind of at the same time and maybe a little bit after. I think a lot of the Laurel Canyon people moved to Topanga because it's a little more remote. We're just up the road from the Pacific Ocean in Malibu, so it's really an idyllic location. One of the fun things I read was that the basement where Neil recorded had lead in the walls, which kind of cracked me up. It's like, why would you need lead in the walls out here where it's so nice and quiet?
It might have been more of like a tinfoil hat situation.
Yeah, keep the aliens out, keep the bad vibes out.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is really cool. So Samur worked with me at Mad Dog. He's part of the Mad Dog crew. And like I say, has been doing trade shows and working with Mojave for years. Early adopter, and has a great studio downtown LA called Seahorse Sound, and we'll post a link to that. Really neat studio. We've done events there, AES events over the years. And can you just tell us a little bit about your experience using Mojaves over the years?
I mean, they've been great. I mean, I remember being an intern at Mad Dog, and then we had, maybe it was even a prototype of the 200 then.
MA200, right?
Yeah, and it was like, everyone was freaking out about it, and I was just still kind of learning about mics, and it was just like, well, what is this new thing that, because you stopped using all the vintage mics at that point.
Well, I had a beautiful pair of 67s that I loved, that I used them on drum overheads and piano, but those are a little problematic, especially if somebody used them on vocals, because they absorb. I didn't know at the time what the problem was. I learned, thanks to working with David Royer, that the big problem is moisture getting in the capsule. So if somebody's singing on it day after day, they start making little noises because it's actually shorting out. So I spent way too much money sending it off to mic repair guys to get them back. And it's like, yeah, it's fine now until somebody sings on it again. But when the MA200s came along, Eddie Kramer was working in the studio, and John Jennings from Royer brought over the prototype, and Eddie said, put it up. We had the 67s out on drum rooms. And we were in there trying, it's like, okay, you tell me which one's not the 67, And so that's kind of what got me sucked into this whole Mojave thing 17 years ago, was love for that microphone. So we had a pair of MA200s, an early pair, and we just said, put the 67s away, put the 200s up, and if the client's not happy, then we can get the 67s out, which never happened. People were always like, wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning of...
We'd have to stick to 67s in their light bulb. just to kind of
Right.
get rid of the condensation. I don't know if that's good for the mic.
No, it is, and we have that on our website, and we tell people to do
yeah?
that now with our other mics because we use, the K67 style capsules, and they're prone to the same thing. So once I learned that, it made my life a lot better. That okay, if you sing on it all day, put it under a desk lamp at about 6 inches overnight, dry it out, and it'll be good to go tomorrow.
Okay,
It's not building up.
That's the trick.
Great trick for you kids out there that I learned from the senior maintenance engineers working at Capitol many moons ago. So, all right, carry on. More Mojaves, please.
Oh yeah, so let's see, where do we begin? I mean, they're obviously great and really versatile on everything. I love them on vocals, drums, and bass. And Travis is the artist we're working with now. I've used Mojaves on his voice for the last 3 records.
Right.
And we love them.
I know you did some work with Regina Spektor. I think we've got some samples on our website.
Yeah.
From your work with her.
That was great. She loved those mics too, but she's just an amazing pianist and she shreds, man. But that was great on piano, and sometimes I'd put it in Omni and just put it between her voice and the piano.
Right.
And if that didn't work, figure 8. And we used that for some of the songs. In the mix, you can't really tell, but it sounds great.
Well, you've got a big enough room, a nice sounding room at Seahorse where you can get away with doing that stuff. If you're recording in a bedroom, you can't really do that.
Yeah,
but
you
if
don't
you're
wanna
in a
be in
nice
Omni.
room, you can take advantage of that.
Yeah. So we did at Seahorse and the Village, and so obviously those rooms are great.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
I'd say the 301 is like my desert island mic.
Yeah.
It's just so versatile. You can just stick it in a suitcase, and you don't have to worry about a power supply. And it's polar patterns, and the pad are great. The new 37 is amazing. I love it because I tend not to like really bright mics, and
Right.
so the kind of ribbon-like character of that is really nice.
It's a real departure for us because all of our other mics really are kind of do everything, leave them up, sound great on everything microphones, from the MA50 through the MA1000. But the MA37 ain't that. I tell people that all of our other mics, it's a Range Rover.
Yeah.
It's a do everything. The MA37 is more like a vintage sports car.
Yeah, totally.
So we're trying to really educate people that this is an awesome mic that you will love and we're very proud of, but it ain't that. So know what it is before you get into one, know what you're getting. I kind of describe the sound as being halfway between our German style condensers and a ribbon mic.
That's really good. Yeah, that's fair to say.
That being said, it's a whole lot of fun
Yeah.
on the right application.
Yeah, it's great, and I think I found it to be pretty versatile too. Just you got to kind of position it and find the right sweet spot for it. But
Right.
you're saying don't use it on vocals. I was like, oh, actually, I love it on vocals. It's kind
No,
of
it's great on vocals. It's just different. It's
Yeah.
kind of like choosing a ribbon mic on vocals. It's awesome,
yeah,
but it's not that bright in your face German style condenser thing that most people are thinking of. It's funny. I find that engineers, the older they get, the more experience they get, the darker they want stuff, and
Exactly.
the warmer they want stuff.
I know because then you don't have to cut anything, and they take EQ so well if you want to brighten them up at all.
Right.
But they're great on drums. The first time I heard it on drums, we just cut it as a mono mic right in front of the kit, and it was just beautiful. The low end was insane,
Right.
and the sizzles were like just really mellow. And
Yeah, it tames that cymbal harshness
Yeah.
really well.
I usually like Coles on overheads because they're dark, and if you get like a cymbal basher, they're fine.
Right.
But this was very similar, but it had like a nice airy top into it.
Yeah, it's kind
too.
of a good compromise between a ribbon and a modern condenser.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. What about the MA1000?
I love the 1000. I think it's. I have a 251 at Seahorse too, and it's nice, but the top end is so crazy on it.
Right.
And this one has a very similar top end, but it's very smooth.
Right.
And I've had the prototype forever, so I don't even have the cool colored ones now.
Oh, that's where it is. I wonder where that prototype was.
Ooh, maybe I
Samur
should've
does
said-
a lot of R&D for us. He's one of the first people I like to put a mic in his hands to get his reaction before we actually produce him and release him. So he's had a lot of influence over the years.
Yeah, and the first record I did in this place was Devendra Banhart's record. And
Right. Who
it's-
you've done several albums with, right?
Yeah, we've been working together. Actually, it was 10 years, 2 days ago. We've been working together.
Wow.
And he has a he has a 200.
Right.
And he loves it, but we've been using the 1000 on his voice, and he sings so quiet, and
Right.
it's just a perfect mic
It
for him.
captures all that air and everything without getting harsh.
It's like ASMR almost, his vocals.
I have an 18-year-old daughter, so I actually know what ASMR is.
Oh yeah, okay.
Kind of like it.
It's weird. It's like mixed into like cooking shows now, so you hear like every chop, and I don't know if
Right.
how I feel about it.
Yeah, she's always coming up and like doing stuff in my ear and saying, "Is that soothing?" And sometimes it is, sometimes it's annoying. But I totally get it. So.
But yeah, and he's really picky because the fact that it's very quiet,
Right.
and the signal to noise ratio is really nice. But he's just so delicate, and a lot of mics end up to get a lot of proximity effect because it's right up on it. But
Right.
I found it to be very balanced with his voice.
Do you ever adjust the polar pattern for proximity effect?
I do. So sometimes if it's a little bit too boomy, I'll just start turning it towards the omni mode, and it starts almost like, getting rid of it, which is a nice thing to do. And also, in my room, Seahorse, I kind of record out in the big room with some baffles. But if I want a little bit more of the natural room reverb, you can start dialing it towards figure 8 or omni.
I'm
and it's
familiar
really
with
nice.
those baffles.
They're nice baffles. A lot of history in those baffles.
Yeah. Yeah, Samur has, he's inherited a lot of the Mad Dog stuff. So I'm happy that it's there and with him and getting used. We're going to have to do a part 2 of this at some point at Seahorse because we're way overdue
Yeah, that
doing a
makes
tour of that studio, your actual home base, which could not be more different than this. It's downtown LA.
It's downtown. It's pretty gritty. The studio's in an old warehouse, and it's a lot of textures and stuff like that. And I've been there for 13 years now, so
Right.
it's just packed to the walls with gear. It's not like this with trees and birds and.
Right. So Devendra, he's not somebody that likes traditional studios. He likes to set up somewhere like
Yeah,
this.
so each record we kind of find a remote location, semi-remote location, and we kind of set up shop there. It just feels more comfortable. You don't have the distractions of the city and people stopping by to say hi and crash
Right.
in the studio.
Like me.
Well, you're welcome anytime. But so yeah, we kind of found this place right at the last moment, and so it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
And it was nice to have the kind of familiar stuff, and it was nice. Thanks for letting me borrow some mics for the.
Always. Have I ever said no to you?
No.
Well, thanks for inviting us out. This is just really fascinating. Maybe we can get some shots of you and Travis working. You want to tell us a little bit about Travis?
Yeah, Travis is great. We've been working together just about the same time too, and he's a great artist. We've been working on his new record, and it's our 3rd record we've done together. But he's also a great producer and songwriter too. So other records we've done about probably 6 total, including the stuff he's produced for other artists. But we'll play you some stuff. It's kind of taken a turn. I think the surroundings have really
Influence the music?
and informed the process. And after a while of working together, you kind of don't talk. It's kind of scary. You kind
Right.
of just become psychic with each other, and
Right.
it's amazing
Intuition.
how little actual physical communication's happening.
Right.
But yeah, we'll play you some
That's
stuff.
great when the relationship with an artist and a producer gets to that level.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much just kind of like telepathy.
Cool. Well, thanks for having us. This is great. This is such a treat. And hope you folks have enjoyed it. And we'll do a part 2 at Seahorse Sound at Samur's other studio sometime in the near future. But until then, adios. See ya. Namaste.